Tom Dundon, owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, who told David Glenn he wants to be an owner of a Major League Baseball franchise. This one threw me for a loop. I know Tom's got ideas, but telling Dave that he's got this idea for an ownership group for MLB to bring to North Carolina, that one threw me for a loop. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it did. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, obviously Tom Dundon's made a lot of money and he can do whatever he wants with it. It's not something he and I have talked about in the past, and we've talked about a lot of potential things you could do. My concern, as it always has been, as far as Raleigh goes, I think Charlotte actually makes a lot of sense for a Major League Baseball team. The issue in Raleigh is the same issue the Hurricanes have had. You make your money in pro sports with corporate dollars. Hockey, you're selling 18,000 tickets 40 nights a year. Baseball, you're selling 40 to 50,000 tickets 80 nights a year. You need people who buy tickets and don't go to games, quite frankly. You need people who buy 20 tickets because their business wants them. You need people to buy suites and premium seats. And the problem the Hurricanes have had over the years is there aren't enough Fortune 500 headquarters here. To sell those seats, you need the headquarters. Now, Charlotte has the headquarters. They've got Honeywell and Bank of America and 8 million other companies whose logos are on the Panthers ribbon boards when they're down 31-0. But we don't have those here. We have a lot of Fortune 500 companies. Sorry, you need me to slow down?
The only what was the Coke Zero sign that you loved?
Enjoy everything.
Enjoy everything. Yes, usually when NC State had just given up a pick six after a fumble return.
Yeah.
Enjoy everything. No, it's a really tough sell here. And that doesn't mean the market can't change and grow. And obviously that's what people who talk about baseball here are counting on. And it will. But by the same token, where there's just not Fortune 500 headquarters moving here. And that's really what drives the boat. It's the pro sports equivalent of college football. There's one thing that really moves the needle. And that's what it is. Asking people here to buy 3.2 million tickets over the course of a season, it's a really hard sell without a lot of corporate support. And that's before you even get to premium seating and skyboxes and things like that. Not to mention, building an arena now is probably a new arena would be like 1.2 billion. Building a new baseball stadium here, and you're probably going to want to have a roof on it since it rains every night here in the summer. You're looking at 2 billion. That in that neighborhood. That's a pretty exclusive neighborhood. So I think it works better in Charlotte because of the corporate dollars. I think in terms of the market being crowded, it works better here. But just financially, it seems like a tough sell, and the market growing doesn't seem to help with that. But, it's if Tom Dundon thinks it works, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about this, then it's his money. If he wants to try it, he can take a hack. And I thought MLS worked here for that same reason, right? Smaller number of tickets, less corporate dollars. You can do more with youth soccer and things like that to get people in the building. Just MLB is such a big nut to cover. It's just really hard.
Well, as well as I do, the mistake that most people make who aren't here, they look at the market and go, oh, there's only one professional franchise. No. NC State, North Carolina, Duke, those are professional franchises and they occupy people's time. And also, you and I, Luke, know from the world famous, why didn't anyone go to the NC State Tennessee game in the David Amerson game in 2012?
Including David Amerson.
Well, everyone went to the beach. That's a big beach weekend. Man. It's a bad idea. I know there are kind-hearted people who still believe in the infield fly and all the other bullshit from Bull Durham. But the truth of the matter is, baseball is a niche sport. And the truth of the matter is, you got, like you just said, all the things you laid out. That time of the year, it only works for the Canes when they're hot because it's the playoffs. You will struggle like hell in July and August to get people to care. You just will.
And let's not forget the Hurricanes struggled at that time of year early on. Remember, Wednesdays are big church nights. Yep. That's why they couldn't sell out the game against the Devils in 2001.
I forgot about the church night.
Yeah, that's an all-time classic. But no, I mean that's
New York Times. That's in the New York Times.
No, I forgot.
New York Times.
Big church night in Raleigh.
Big church night Wednesday night. It's really hard to get people out to hockey. It's the other part of it is baseball works best with downtown stadiums and in places with robust public transit, because you are asking 40,000 people to go. NFL, you can put a stadium in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You only got to go there 8 times a year, 9 if they make the playoffs. Baseball, you're asking people to do it 81 times a year in Raleigh, even if you put it like in, say, downtown South, you're still asking people to drive to those games 81 times a year. And you really need a fan base like a Kansas City or a Milwaukee that's willing to do that to make it work. And once the novelty wears off in year 2 and year 3 and the team's 40 and 120, how does that go? And then are they end up moving to Montreal or whatever? Quebec?
We're decades removed from the Minnesota Twins potentially moving to Greensboro.
To Winston-Salem.
So there was Greensboro was the one that everybody was obsessing. And at that time, the sentiment,
Kernersville.
Was it Kernersville technically where
it was? They were going to build. Were they going to build a stadium in Kernersville because that was between everything, and it was an hour from Raleigh and an hour from Charlotte.
The thought process behind that, though, made sense because the sentiment at that time was to bring the Metrolina area to games during the summer. Because, I'll drive the hour it takes to go to Greensboro for a weekend series or something like that, especially if the Braves are in town. But that sentiment is gone, and the downtown arena is what makes sense in most cities. But this is where, again, the uniqueness of this market starts to creep into our conversations. Joe, you bring up the professional sports that are colleges. I've had conversations with the Canes that hate the fact that the colleges are treated like pro sports because that means they don't have to spend as much money on the college game. And when the Canes come asking for money, what's the usual? Well, wait a minute. Why should I spend this amount of money with you when I can get it for whatever the cost is playing with NC State? So there's all sorts of factors in play there. And then there's who you bring in, which is why anytime somebody's brought up a downtown arena for the Carolina Hurricanes, I just laugh because you're not getting people who are Carolina Hurricanes fans to go downtown. They can barely get people to come downtown for dinner these days because of the bad headlines. You're telling me you're going to try to get them to games downtown too with the traffic issues and where to park? PNC Arena is in the perfect location for what the Carolina Hurricanes are trying to do. You're bringing a baseball team to the mix. It works for our friends at the Durham Bulls. Shout out to Mike Burling. It works for the Mudcats because it's a low stakes affair that you can bring the family. Baseball, Major League Baseball is a whole different beast, man.
Yeah. And to your point, a parking spot for NC State football in a God rest everyone. I mean, keep it holy surface parking spot is $120 a year. You'll pay that to park at 3 Hurricanes games if you don't pay in advance. Now, if you pay in advance, that buys you 9 Hurricanes games. But the point is, you're getting, like, if I were NC State and if people care about surface parking so much, I'd be charging $1,200 for those spots. I mean, that if people are willing to, burn down the arena over their surface parking spots, surely they're willing to pay more than $120 a year. But the point is, to your point, that's almost an order of magnitude difference in cost between those two things. And you know what? If you think you're going to go to a baseball game in the Triangle and not pay $40 to park, you're probably going to pay $80 to park.
I was going to say, you're paying $40 this upcoming season for the Carolina Hurricanes, are you not? I think that's what it just got raised up to.
It's $40 if you pay at the gate. At the $25 if you pay in advance.
Gotcha.
And look, I go to these arenas. I go all over the country for this stuff. $40 for a pro sporting event sounds like a lot in the 919 area code. It's pretty reasonable across the board. When you look at the money that goes into the salary cap that the Hurricanes have to keep up with, $40 is at the lower end of that spectrum. Now, people don't like that, but I'm just telling you that's kind of how it is.
Now, I want to be clear. I don't begrudge Dundon for trying to do this. I like that Dundon is, disrupting the area. We'll close the conversation on this. I like what he's trying to do with PNC Arena. We're dragging this area into the modern era of what you have to do to be professional sports. But now I'm sitting here thinking about,
it's been a minute since we've had a failed franchise in this market.
Yeah.
And the reason that the three of us know it, because we've seen it.
Yeah.
But someone like Dundon, he's only been here since 17. So like you're sitting here telling him, like, who are the Raleigh Bullfrogs? Who are the Durham Dragons?
Can I send you to a podcast I did about a failed football team? Yeah, unfortunately, that didn't come over with the move. But
we've seen all this. It's the same attitude, like, there's only one, there's nothing there, and it's like,
why wouldn't spring football?
There's a deeper conversation here about this. If Tom Dundon rankles NHL owners, what's Tom Dundon going to do with baseball
who
owners
refuse to let Mark Cuban into their club?
Come on. I mean, that's the other factor too. You could put a group together. You might not have money, but as we've seen with Major League Baseball and like the Miami Marlins, they'll pick the guys they really want.
Sure. And I mean,
but that doesn't mean he can't be the money guy and make some, former Texas Ranger who he knows from Dallas, the face of the franchise. I mean, I think that's part of this is I obviously I need to talk to him, but he has money. That doesn't necessarily mean he wants to be the guy spearheading this. Maybe there's someone who has a great idea, and Dundon's like with the AAF says, hey, you know what? Maybe it's worth $200 million of my money.
I bet
to figure out where this goes. And then if it doesn't work, I'll whatever, $200 million out the window. Like the pickleball merger. Like, oh, I put a bunch of money in pickleball. Turns out we probably only need one pro league. Okay, fine. We'll figure it out.
It's probably Tepper. He's the front man for Tepper because nobody wants to touch anything related to Tepper right now. I mean, the reaction.
Tepper is going to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte like he brought live music to Charlotte.
What's funny, though, in looking at Dave Glenn's tweet about the story, the interview he had with Dundon and Dundon dropping that nugget with him, was I looked at the quote tweets and it was as long as it's not Tepper. Like, I would love baseball here, but keep it away from Tepper. We don't want Tepper touching this stuff.